We're turning our focus to Iran now, which has threatened to ramp up uranium enrichment to near weapons-grade levels if the conflict resumes. As President Trump warns, a ceasefire with Tehran is now on life support. A spokesperson for Iran's National Security and Foreign Policy Commission has warned that lawmakers could consider raising enrichment to 90%. That's a significant step that would bring the country closer to nuclear weapons capability. The warning comes as tensions are increasing between Washington and Tehran over the future of Iran's nuclear program. The U.S. is pressing Iran to move its enriched uranium stockpile abroad, while Tehran insists the issue should be addressed at a later stage in the negotiations. And earlier I spoke to William Alberque, a former NATO official and now a senior fellow with the Pacific Forum. I asked him whether Iran saying that it could enrich uranium to 90% if attacked again is a real military threat or just political theater.
I think it's a little bit of a mix of both. On the one hand, Iran has been building extensive tunnels in addition to the facilities that were struck by the United States and Israel in the two sets of strikes last year and this year. So it's entirely possible that they have a number of cascades able to enrich that uranium stored away in facilities that we have not monitored yet. So it's possible that they could then move the highly enriched uranium that they already have stored at Isfahan to other tunnel hidden sites and do enrichment there. Converting that further into a bomb would be much more complicated, but further enrichment is at least theoretically possible at this stage.
Okay, you've just mentioned it. It's further away, but for viewers who hear 90% enrichment and they think nuclear bomb, how close is that really for Iran?
Right, so right now, the highly enriched material we're talking about around 440.9 kilograms, which is enough for between 10 to 12 bombs. It's in a gaseous form in cylinders that we think are buried underneath the Isfahan nuclear complex. So they would have to take those cylinders, they would have to build out centrifuges to enrich that material. So they'd have to put the gas through these spinning containers to further enrich it from 60% to 90%, which once you're at 60%, it's very fast to get to 90%. But now you have gas, uranium that's enriched to 90%. You would then have to turn that into a solid form, and then from a solid into a metal form, then from a metal into the sphere that would be the center of a bomb, and then build all the bomb material around that, and then you'd have a warhead. Those stages of taking 90% rich uranium, converting it into metal, converting that metal into a pit, are incredibly complex operations that would take very specialized facilities and would take weeks, if not months, to do at the best of conditions. But under wartime conditions and under monitoring by the US and Israel, it would be very, very difficult and incredibly risky, because there's one way to guarantee that US or Israel would send in troops, and that would be to take these steps from 60% to 90% and then from 90% to a bomb.
You just mentioned the facilities. Trump said last year already that Iran's nuclear sites were, quote, obliterated in a US attack. From what we know now, was Iran's program destroyed or just disrupted?
I would say that Iran's declared facilities, the ones that we knew about, the ones that the IAEA were monitoring, have been largely destroyed. But the trick is Iran always was building additional tunnel complexes. So for instance, there's a whole other tunnel complex that they were building near one of their declared facilities called Natanz. They were building a whole other mountain complex. We don't think they completed it. And then Isfahan, that's a major nuclear facility where they convert the gas into metal to be able to make a bomb. They say it's there for fuel fabrication, but it probably has other purposes. The above ground facilities were destroyed, but the below ground facilities, we just don't know, probably disrupted severely. So I think you could say we massively destroyed their above ground facilities and their principal declared underground facilities, but there may be additional places that we just don't know about. And they may be spending time right now trying to rebuild facilities underground at places that we have not been to yet.
Now, what matters more now, destroying centrifuges or finding and securing the enriched uranium stockpile?
The urgent problem is the actual enriched uranium. I mean, this is 440.9 kilograms of highly enriched 60% highly enriched uranium, plus more hundreds of kilograms of 20% HU that Iran has. Securing and eliminating that is of the highest priority. The centrifuges are there for their future program, to build cascades, to build the complex facilities that they need in order to enrich that material. That's more of a future concern, but the proximate concern has to be seizing that material, getting it out of the country, downblending it, making sure that it's safe, and just taking it out of the potential for turning it into a bomb. But to further eliminate the program in the future, you have to destroy the centrifuges and Iran's capability to build centrifuges in the future.
Now, Iran has always maintained that its nuclear program is peaceful. This level of enrichment, is that claim still credible to inspectors and arms control experts?
No, not at all. There's no country on earth with a civilian nuclear program that has enriched to 60% that much material. It's absurd. Iran was trying to build leverage for negotiations in the way that they knew would give them the most leverage. I'm convinced, sure, that they weren't actually building a bomb, but they were moving far enough along the path that if that decision was to be taken, it would be first years, then months, then weeks before they would actually have the bomb. So they were getting as close as they could without crossing the threshold. And the problem was, it just wasn't credible. There was no need for them to do that. And the original JCPOA, the original Iran deal, made sure that they wouldn't get as close as they had gotten. And as of May of last year, they were so close that the International Atomic Energy Agency could no longer certify that they weren't actually going to cross that threshold into military capabilities.
William Alberque there, the former NATO official, and now with the Pacific Forum. Thank you very much for sharing your expertise with us.
Thank you very much.